Glad that you joined us for this meeting, for this session, at least the second session. And the second session is going to be delivered by Aurora, as Sandra has mentioned. But before she does, I wanted to give you the findings of the last quiz that we did, so that you know at least how you performed. And this should take less than 10 minutes actually for us to do that. Sandra, can you see my screen share? Yes, I can. So we had at least 140 of you who responded to the quiz. And as we mentioned before, is that this is going to be, after every session, there's going to be a quiz which you answer, and the people who are consistently answering will be the ones who will be given a certificate at the end. So if you miss one quiz or one class, unfortunately, you will not have been considered to have completed. So I'm happy to see that at least 140 of you did submit at least answer to the quiz, and we're happy about that. So we did ask, first question was around your perception of AI technology, and 62% of you say that AI technology is a new technology. This kind of indicated to me that you hadn't read the material that we had sent, nor the presentation that I gave, because in the presentation, it was clear that AI is not a new technology. In fact, it started as a concept back in the 1950s. So the majority of you actually did fail this question. And I implore you to read the materials we sent, to listening to the live sessions, so that you don't get the questions wrong. Because now this very first question, actually 62% of you got it wrong. But I'm happy about the 32% who did, or 38% who got it correctly. And we did ask, the second question was about what is the primary goal of AI in business? And 58% of you did say that it is to automate tasks, which is true. Another 27% of you said it's to enhance customer experience, which is also true. And then 9% of you said is to increase profits, of course, which is also true as a factor. And then we did have at least 6% of you, 8 of you, who said that it is to replace human workers, which is not true actually at all. It is those first three, that is automating tasks, enhancing customer experience, and increasing profits. Those are the three correct answers. And most of you did get the three correct answers correctly. The third question was around if small businesses, if you believe that small businesses, SMEs like yourselves, could afford to implement AI. And I'm so happy to see that 100% of you agreed that indeed it is possible. So that was a fantastic outcome of the training session, in fact. The fourth question was around, we'll ask you to identify an example of an AI-powered technology. We got 52% of you who said that it is a chatbot. Chatbots are AI technology, which is true. Some of you, 44% of you said that it is all the above, which was also true. And then 4% of you said social media, which is also true. And then none of you said that it's online banking is also an AI technology. And so you know, online banking is also an AI technology because it uses a algorithm to give you the right customer care. You see all those emails you get, those automatic emails that you get from your online banking, they're all automated. So they're also using artificial intelligence. So it's using algorithms. So it's another piece of technology that is AI enabled. So in fact, the most correct answer was all of the above, including online banking. And the fifth question was looking at AI's potential to help you in making decisions in an SME, for example. And 99% of you said that, in fact, you agree that AI can be used to help you make decisions in your SME. One of you, however, said that they're not sure. I don't know how they're not sure after they've attended the first class, but at least 99% of you did get the question correctly. Then the sixth question was around AI's artificial intelligence's learning capability, and 62% of you did say that the term for AI's learning capability is machine learning. Was the correct answer actually. So deep learning, we had 14% of you give that answer. Deep learning is a subtext of machine learning. So the most correct answer was machine learning, though deep learning could also be considered correct. in case machine learning wasn't there. And then also natural language processing, that's also another subtext of machine learning. But the most correct answer was indeed machine learning. In question 7, we had how can you use AI in marketing? And 99% of you believed or accepted that you can use artificial intelligence in marketing. And that is the most correct answer, in fact. Only one of you said that they aren't sure about using artificial intelligence in marketing. And I encourage that one person who did that to read the reading material that we shared and also re-listen to maybe the first session. And then secondly, if you're also here attending this session, then please do listen to the next session that is going to be given by Aurora, where we're looking at how to use ChatGPT in branding your company. Then the 8th question, number 8 out of 10, we were looking at what more can you use AI for, and 94% of you said that in fact you would use it to improve customer service. Fantastic. The rest of the answers were incorrect, actually, and we got 6% of you getting the answers on this question wrong, but a big, huge 94% of you did answer the question correctly. Then question 9, we were asking about how easy is it for artificial intelligence to be adopted for SMEs, and 85% of you agreed that actually it can be adopted both by SMEs and corporations, which was the right answer. And then 21% of you, did agree at least. The most right answer was the first one, and 85% of you got it correctly. So we also did ask what you expected to get out of implementing artificial intelligence in your SME. And 100% of you say that you expect to get out increased productivity. That was the correct answer. And I'm glad that 100% of you at least got that one correctly, which is amazing. So in conclusion, we think that it's very clear that you ladies understand and underscore the need for artificial intelligence and its capacity to help your SME to improve its productivity. And we are really happy that most of you actually did get most of the answers correctly. I think our pass rate was around at least 85% of you did get most answers correctly. So that's a very high number. Then we encourage those, the 15% of you who didn't, and even if you didn't get the answers correctly in the first quiz, please don't worry, there are going to be more quizzes. Every session there's going to be a quiz. So just make sure this time maybe you learn, and then you read the reading material, watch the videos before you attempt the quiz. Because we are sharing the quizzes, I think, on Wednesday, and then we close them on Saturday. So it's not urgent for you to answer the quiz before you read the material. So if you haven't read the material before the class, make sure you read it after the class before you attempt the quiz. Because I would love to see 100% pass rate. But this was also good as a start. Thank you. So I would like to introduce, let me stop sharing here. If you have any questions, please do put them in the chat. I'll be happy to answer them. But for now, I would like for us
we just have one, maybe before we move, from Cecilia, who says, the question of AI being new technology was tricky because it is in the recent years when actually people started implementing it. But in the earlier days, it was present, but as a concept. That's why I concluded as a new technology. But knowing that it's an earlier concept introduced.
So yes, well, maybe what I would respond to that is that in the 1950s, that's when the concept was introduced. By the 1970s, 80s, it had started being implemented. From the 1980s, now we are in the 2020s. That's almost 40 years worth of progressive implementation of AI. So I wouldn't call it new. Because it started in the 1950s, though it was a concept then. But in terms of actual implementation, the technology being developed, if you look back to the 1980s to date, of course, it's moving very fast. To date, it's actually, that's almost a 40-year process of implementation of AI. So implementation of AI from the way we know, we may think that it's new, but it isn't. And I would encourage you to go back to read the notes. Especially in the presentation that I did give, it showed you the progress. Of course, it may not have come to the attention of we, the common man, but it's not a new concept for the people in the tech world. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Damali. So as mentioned last week, for any questions, please put them on the chat. We'll try to answer as many as possible. That Thanks for that presentation, Damali. And it's good to see that, for most of you, at least you are reading the material, you're beginning to understand the concept from the results that were presented. So we thank you and we encourage you to please keep this momentum, keep being this dynamic as we continue with this training. So Damali, do you want to introduce Aurora to come in?
Yes, ladies, I'm very happy to introduce Aurora Feng, whom I sent you her profile last week. I do hope you read it, but she's a very wonderful addition to us. We are privileged to have her share her knowledge. She's going to be running this session, so you should listen very carefully. And please put any questions that you have in the chat so that we are also able to, don't worry, we're going to be monitoring the chat so that we respond to you as we go along. And then for questions that are for Aurora, we will channel them to her. But Aurora, you're very welcome. Thank you so much for offering to lead on this session. So over to you.
Let me quickly share my screen. So I have put together a very simple presentation that pretty much summarizes all of the readings we've done. So this week, we're primarily focusing on leveraging AI for brand design and storytelling. And so one important thing we need to understand is how can we efficiently and effectively utilize AI in storytelling and in crafting our brand identity. And I'm sure that everyone has articles. So first of all, let's figure out what is AI-driven design. And that includes using AI tools like machine learning, generative design, to create logos, color schemes, and overall brand aesthetics. So these are more from like a design aspect, but it could actually expand beyond that because AI can cover like generating your brand identity and brand voice that goes beyond just the visual logos. And the key element of AI in brand design is the ability to create highly personalized experiences, which we'll go over in the next slide. So what are the advantages of AI in brand design? Well, first of all, AI accelerates the creative process by providing designers with quick access to a vast pool of design ideas and inspiration. So with AI, like designers can quickly choose from a pool of different resources and materials, and it's easier for them to create content that appeals to the customer's needs. And next, AI uses data-driven tools to analyze user data and preferences to create highly personalized branding experiences. And that also fosters loyalty and connection between the brand and the customers. And then thirdly, AI helps generate adaptation of design and helps ensure the brand's tonal consistency. And by tonal consistency, I mean like how do we make the brand look aesthetic and like how do you make it like aesthetically appealing and consistent? And then lastly, the AI-driven, data-driven approach helps brands quickly identify their target audience. And it helps them realize, based on the customer's preferences and user research and user data, what kind of customers are the customer that they need to target. So next we're going to talk about
Aurora. Sorry to interrupt you, but can you speak a little bit more loudly and slower so that the rest of the people are able to hear you?
Can people hear me clearly?
That's better. So
Okay.
you may have to stay at that position.
Yeah, I don't have the best Wi-Fi connection, but if you guys can't hear me, let me know.
Okay, we can hear you now.
Yeah, I'll turn the video off so that my Wi-Fi is better. But let's move on to the influence of AI on customer perception. So one key element that we talked about just now is how AI is able to help brands personalize their design and communication to meet individual customers' preferences. One example that really uses AI algorithms to feed into customers' personalized interests is TikTok. So by personalization, it means for every customer, every user, when they log on to the app or when they see the brand, when they like have some sort of ways of interaction with the brand, the content they receive is all individualized, unique, and different from the content that other customers receive. That way, it ensures that like the brand or the advertisement is not just tailored to one single audience or one single type of audience, but that it can feed into a broad interest of a large number of audience. And the next concept that I want to talk about is dynamic branding. So in the concept of dynamic branding, AI allows brands to adapt their identity in real time based on customer interactions. So for example, like a lot of the ad content used by social media apps like TikTok, again, like just to use TikTok because it's a famous example, they use AI algorithm tools to analyze if the ad that's being fed to the customer is tailored to the customer's interest. And let's say if you, for example, if you're a customer, you stay on this ad for like 5 seconds, the algorithm is going to remember it. And next time, if they feed you a similar ad and you only stay there for, let's say, 1 second, or you didn't even stay there, you just swipe up, that means you're not interested in that ad anymore. And the AI will remember it and allow the brand to adapt their identity. Maybe like next time, they're going to feed you with a different ad adjacent to that and see if you're interested in that ad. So it's through this constant, quick, and dynamic branding that AI is able to like quickly test for user feedback. And it also significantly reduces the cost because usually like it takes a lot of time, money, and effort for brands to evolve their design. And like before in the broadcasting era, like brands typically don't evolve their design until like years after. However, like now that with the power of AI, brands can offer numerous changes within an instant with a very low cost. But one key thing that we also need to consider is the ethical consideration of AI and how we should be careful not to let AI replace human creativity. And I think like one element we need to consider is that like to what extent do human designers rely on AI and to what extent do humans work with AI? And because AI can never replace the emotional strength and connections that humans are able to bring. So like moving on to the future, I think like rather than saying, oh, like whether we need to choose between a human designer or an AI designer, like whether an AI designer is significantly better than humans in this and that way, we need to get used to collaborating with AI and like co-living with AI. So that would like foster creation to even broader range. And then moving on, we're gonna go to the power of storytelling in AI-driven branding. So as we can see in the digital era of AI, brand identities have also shifted. So they shifted from traditional print and broadcast to digital platforms. And so in terms of storytelling and identity, we need to realize the importance of storytelling in maintaining a brand's identity, even though there's a lot of technical changes brought by AI. And like it's so easy for a brand to lose their voice or to not know how to tell a story because of technological innovation. However, on the other hand, we always have that human element in branding. And it's this human element, it's the storytelling that helps retain the human element in branding and helps ensure that brands remain relatable and emotionally engaging to its audiences. So in terms of how AI-driven branding works, we have the AI aspect and we also have the brand identity aspect. So for the AI aspect, for example, if you want AI to do personalization, it's going to give you tailored customer experiences and making sure that like each customer gets the content that they want, and making sure that each customer forms a strong emotional connection and reliance to the brand content. And then the next aspect of AI is data analysis. And again, it could be applied in so many different ways. It could help you identify market trends. It could also help you analyze customer preferences and customer behaviors and really understand like the cognitive aspect of consumer behavior. And so the data analysis approach is gonna come back and help you understand the customer better and like develop a narrative that in turn more, is more relatable to the audience's experiences. It can also give you personalized customer feedback, analyzing data to improve customer satisfaction, customer loyalty, and figure out where the issue lies, etc. And then the final aspect is automated marketing. So AI optimizes marketing effort. Like I said before, it reduces costs hugely, and it also like really helps marketing effortless and easier because it can reach a large target audience. But again, like when deploying AI, we must consider the ethical considerations and ensuring that whatever story AI tell is not like it's still within the control of humans and that it's not manipulating customers in a bad way. And then now let's talk about the relationship between storytelling and algorithms and why we need to incorporate algorithms in storytelling and vice versa, why we can't just have algorithm, like we still need the element of storytelling. So to me, like those two things, even though they're in separate columns, they come hand in hand. They're like a tree that grows, like it has different branches, but it's still like interconnected into one big tree. So in the connection element, you see that through storytelling, like it's easier for brands to generate emotional engagement with the audience. And with the help of algorithm branding, it's going to give you data-driven interactions. And so that way, like your emotional engagement is not just purely emotional. It's backed by data, backed by customer preferences and user data. An inner element of differentiation. So storytelling, oftentimes when we say someone tells a good story or like a founder gives a good pitch, oftentimes it's because they have a unique brand narrative. It's because they have found a way to uniquely position themselves. However, like if it's just storytelling without the power of AI or algorithms, it's a bit difficult to understand where others in the market are coming from or if others are telling similar stories. So using algorithm branding, we can easily do competitor analysis and figure out like if other people are telling the same thing, and if we need to craft our narratives to make it more relevant and to even differentiate ourselves in a more targeted way. So that way we can apply, for example, machine learning technologies to really like understand where other people or the competitors' strengths are, and how do we, like come up with solutions that specifically target their areas. And then the next aspect is personalization. So through storytelling, the way personalization works is oftentimes like founders or brand agents telling their own story and like using their own human experiences to form connections with the audience. But again, it's difficult for a founder, even though they're a great salesperson, great marketer, it's difficult for them to tell a story that feeds into the interest of every customer. However, with algorithms, it's easier to do personalization through customer preferences so that the story or the human experience is not just unique to the founder themselves, but also it could be applied to all customers. And in terms of the impact of storytelling, so I think like the most powerful thing generated by storytelling is its ability to create customer loyalty and trust, really making the customers deeply believe in their values. However, with algorithms, it goes beyond that level, and it can really help customers improve their customer satisfaction metrics and use AI to analyze like what are the areas that we need to improve, and like how do we build customer retention to, you know, retain that trust and loyalty for even longer. And so in terms of the tools used by storytelling, again, it's pretty easy and obvious that they use content because they're all content creators. And on the other hand, algorithms are mostly machine learning AI tools. But if we compare those tools and combine them, we feel that even though content seems very like personal, you know, emotional, and machine learning seems very like technical. So if we compare them, they're two different things. But if we combine them, machine learning tools can in fact help content to become more personalized and add that unique emotional elements to content creators. So the case study we have here are Netflix and Spotify. So as we can see, Netflix uses AI to analyze customer feedback and viewing patterns. And that way they know how to tailor their content and marketing effort to align with audiences' preferences. And therefore, like if you log into your Netflix account, it's going to be different from any other person's Netflix account. And no matter what, like Netflix is always going to know what you like, and that makes you really stick to them and forms a strong brand identity. Spotify, for example, it uses AI for personalized product recommendations. If you log on to Spotify, they give you like, for example, your day list or like new songs they recommend to you every day. And this is obviously also like unique to you, and thus it's creating a really individualized music experience that, you know, like helps users stay on the platform, but still like feed them with tailored content that feeds into their interests. So those are the examples of how brands are able to use AI technology and algorithms to study user preferences and reinforce personal branding and deepen customer engagement. So the next thing I want to cover is how to have a personality in branding and storytelling. So I sort of summarized it based on the article. I know it's super long, but I think the key element, the key message is that you need to incorporate your company's mission and have a buyer persona and come up with your best performing content. After that, you need to formalize your brand voice and make it consistent. So in short, that's the essential way of how you can create your brand voice. And the reason why brand voice is important is because it's essentially like what you rely on to communicate with the outside. It's how you want to be remembered by the outside world. And it also serves as a guideline for like what you want to say and the way you say it. So the brand voice is the personality of your brand. And that is what makes you unique from other people. And so creating a brand voice, at first, like even though it's a brand voice, ultimately like all the branding, all the marketing you do, like you need to remember that it serves the value of your company. And if you are not clear of the value proposition of your company, the branding is not going to be successful. So first of all, you need to like be super clear with your company's mission, like what exactly do you want to do and how do you want to do it? What are the approaches you take different from other people? Once you have those values crystal clear, now you can start forming your brand voice. And you need to have a buyer persona because essentially like you will be viewing this from a customer's perspective. Imagine yourself as an audience, customer, buyer, and put yourself in their shoes and just think about if you were a customer, like what would you want this brand to say? If you're listening to music, for example, like what app do you want that feeds into your music taste? Just really put yourself in your customer's shoes and avoid, like trying to manipulate your audience or like giving them too much like of your own thoughts and judgments. And it's important to have your best performing content because you need to like make it consistent, but also make it stand out. So ultimately, like you need to pick the strongest voices that align with your values and really stick to them. And after that, you need to formalize it and then make sure that like all the communication channels, all the people in your brand, like literally your entire company should stick to this guideline. And no matter internal or external, like you need those guidelines to really guide your brand going further. And finally, you need to make it consistent. So lastly, how do we use ChatGPT to craft your brand identity after we talked about the role of AI in transforming brand design, after we talked about the importance of storytelling and how to have a personality in the storytelling? Now we come to the final step of application. Like how do we use existing AI tools to craft that brand message? And obviously like the most direct, straightforward tool is ChatGPT because given that like branding and storytelling, it's pretty much like content heavy and like text heavy. I think ChatGPT pretty much can do everything. And we could even explore like the multiple various forms of GPTs provided by OpenAI to make it more tailored to your need. But the key element and the key steps is, first of all, you need to define your brand purpose and mission. And similar to what we just talked about, this is basically like defining your company's values and mission. So one thing that you can use ChatGPT is to really like prompt yourself those questions and ask yourself why. For example, if let's say like your mission is to be the best, blah, 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 among this target audience. And the next question you can ask yourself is, why do I need to build this? Or like, why am I building to those customers? And ask ChatGPT to give you different options. Like, if not those customers, what other customers could I potentially build it for? And to really like use those questions to help you broaden up your views and expand beyond your comfort zone to define your brand purpose. And after your purpose, you can identify the audience interests and pain points. And again, as we said, generate buyer persona. So one thing we can ask ChatGPT to do is that imagine like help me generate a target audience profile and come up with their age, gender, socioeconomic condition, income, preferences, hobbies, occupation, etc., and see if that makes sense. And if that makes sense, that should be your target audience. And when you tell the story to people, you can always use that imaginary person to be the profile of your target audience and be like, hey, this person is, let's say like male, 32-year-old named Henry, whatever. He's a target user of my app. And now today, Henry, goes to work and he runs into this issue. And what is Henry going to do? Like, you can start, generating those questions based on ChatGPT, and it'll give you very, very detailed answers and come up with a scenario that makes the most sense. Because like AI, given that, it has so much large database, it's easier for them to come up with a scenario that fits, like perfectly into what you're looking for. And then it's also important to identify your value proposition. And this is similar to your brand purpose and mission. So really be clear on what values does your brand bring that other brands don't. And like why, why is it that your brand is doing this, but not others? So making sure, again, like similar to step one, like ask a lot of questions, ask ChatGPT to probe you on those questions, and see if like you'll get your value proposition right. And after that, you can start generating your brand voice and tone. So like step 1, 2, 3 is more like what you need to do before diving into actually generating brand identity. So those are like the preparation steps you need to take. Like only if you have a clear mission statement, a clear target audience profile, and a clear value proposition, then you can dive deeper into, like what content do I want? What voice and tone do I want? What like visual elements do I want? And think about those specifics. And those are the areas where you can explore like various AI tools available in the market to really like tailor it to your interest. For example, like you can use ChatGPT to generate your brand tone. And then you can also use Midjourney to come up with visual identity. And there's a lot of like visual audio element tools in the market that you can use. And then finally, when you're ready to deliver the message to your audience, you can also go back to ChatGPT and ask it to craft messages. And after that, you're ready to launch your brand identity. So following those steps, like making sure that there's a clear division between like the preparations you need to do and like the specific implementation of those steps. And I think, yeah, that's pretty much how you're able to craft the brand identity with ChatGPT. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aurora, for that presentation. And ladies, I hope you listened to it. I didn't give at the very beginning, I didn't give the full profile of Aurora, but I'm going to actually give it now because I think we need to appreciate her time, the fact that she's here. So Aurora is, she holds a BA from Stanford University. She's a seasoned investor and entrepreneur. Aurora enjoys both funding and founding companies. So she likes doing startups. She has co-founded a startup in artificial intelligence healthcare space and has worked at several leading venture capital funds, including PRVC, Zen Fund, and these funds are in the US, in China, and Brazil. She's now organizing an entrepreneurship program for Ugandans and refugees on behalf of Stanford University. So she's doing a lot of corporate CSR. And she also has extensive experience in Silicon Valley and in engaging in emerging markets across South America, Asia, and Africa. So Aurora brings to us a global perspective, and she's offering us strategic insights to guide entrepreneurs in their next venture. So we're really grateful, Aurora, to have your time here. And ladies, given the presentation she's given, please, I encourage you to share your comments or your questions in the chat, and also whatever clarifications you may have. Also, you can share your findings that you may have had during the time when you are reading the materials. Also, you could share your comments that you may have in watching the videos. I would like to know how many of you actually did watch the videos that we shared, because some of you prefer learning by watching videos, others prefer learning by reading materials. There's some videos that I sent that were must watch, should have been watched by everybody. There are some that were optional. So please do ask your questions and share your comments. And please let us know, and Aurora, if she has any questions in the chat that we may have to.
Thank you, Damali, and thank you, Aurora, for that presentation. I hope the participants found it useful. And I think what really came out of the presentation is how you could just really use this ChatGPT, how it can be very, very powerful in building your brand, because your brand is unique. You're the only one with that brand. How can you refine it? And I think Aurora has done well taking us through that. In terms of questions, most of them are appreciations to Aurora, thanking her for the presentation. Ladies, if you have any other questions, please include it in the chat following Aurora's presentation. So any questions you have on what Aurora presented, any specific questions you have on how you could use ChatGPT for branding that you felt maybe wasn't covered in the presentation, or you needed more information or more clarification, please put your questions and responses in the chat and we will respond to all of them. But most of them are appreciating the presentation. So thank you once again, Aurora. Someone says they missed Damali's presentation. So Damali was presenting the findings from the quiz, and maybe that will be shared in the WhatsApp group. But yeah, if there's anything, please, ladies, now is your turn to engage in this particular session. Any questions you have? If you don't, I'm assuming that the presentation was very enriching and it addressed all your needs. I see there's a question coming in from Leah. No, first we'll start with Nakato. Nakato says, on storytelling versus algorithms, in layman language, is it a comparison between humans and machines? So that's the first question from Nakato Jen. I'll repeat it. On storytelling versus algorithms in layman language, is it a comparison between humans and machines? And then the second is from Leah. Leah is asking, how do you determine the voice and tone of your brand? So we'll respond to these first two questions as the others come in. So I'll hand over to Aurora to respond to those two questions.
For the first question, I don't think it's a direct comparison between humans and machines. I think my point is to illustrate how humans and machines can work together and foster collaboration. So I don't think like humans should like separate ourselves from machines, because like at the end of the day, machine algorithms are developed by humans, and the purpose of machines is to serve humans and to like help us better achieve our purposes. So I think like the point of me comparing, or I guess like the point of talking about those two things hand in hand, is more to like have a direct comparison and see how like machines can, you know, on top of the human element of storytelling, can push the storytelling effort to one level further and really like do what the storytellers are incapable of doing. So for example, like humans oftentimes like they create connections and bonding through loyalty, through like sharing their personal experiences. But with machine algorithms, like it's not just limited to the experience of the storyteller themselves, but it can easily connect the audience to have shared experiences, or it can find a way to connect the audience with the storyteller. So that way, like through the power of algorithms, like we can go even further. Like we won't just be limited by the storyteller's vision.
Thank you, Aurora. I think that has been addressed. Then the second question, I don't know if that you had covered that. It was, how do you determine the voice and tone for your brand?
I think for this question, like obviously each brand has their unique voice and tone, as we can see from the case studies and examples. Like there is no, well, I guess like every brand story is unique, and it's impossible to find two brands or two companies with the exact same tone. So I think like in order for you to develop your unique tone, you really have to start from defining the company's mission. Because again, as I said, like the brand is not separate. Like it's not a separate entity. It's part of your company's mission. So like you first of all need to figure out like what exactly does your company do and what problems do you guys want to solve and how do you solve it. So once you have that mission and have that like sort of framework and methodology ready, you can start diving deeper into the content you produce. Like obviously it's not a one-time effort, right? Like you need to be constantly producing content for you to figure out a pattern and then come up with the best pattern, come up with the best performing content, and use those content, align those content with your company's mission and value, and really like form your brand voice and tone through there.
If I may
Thank you.
add, Sandra,
Go
also,
on, Damali.
if I may add to what Aurora said, maybe if I go back in fact to the first question, which was saying, is it man versus machine regarding storytelling, where the machine is coming up with or the algorithm is coming up with with an aspect. So the idea of AI is that it's supposed to complement us, but it's not human. So we're supposed to use it to, for prompts. You can brainstorm, you can ask it for suggestions in how you should craft, say, your vision, your values. And then you pick from what it has suggested and then personalize it or humanize it, yeah? So if you look at the brand like, say, Fenty Beauty, where all ladies, we use makeup. So Fenty Beauty, which is Rihanna's brand, you can see that they've taken a specific approach, which is to use Rihanna's story to actually market said brand. So AI could have, if they had just used AI would have come up with a target profile of the kinds of people who may use Fenty Beauty, but it would not have been able to add the aspects to do with Rihanna's personal story, i.e., her mother and, what she's overcome, her as a musician. So that's when you humanize it, when you put in aspects of yourself, of your own story into it. Now, of course, you can feed that into AI. I can give a suggestion to say to ChatGPT and say, hi, I'm Damali Sali, I'm the owner of Ideation Corner. I was born here and I really love my mother, I love my dad. My family values are very strong. So I would love for you to come up with a vision for me that includes values for the Ideation Corner, and then you craft some of the content I can share based on some of those personal snippets I've talked about myself. Then it will come up with suggestion. But if my prompt to a ChatGPT is just the Ideation Corner is a platform that helps entrepreneurs come up with our, values, give me suggestions of our values. It can't incorporate my personal story because I haven't told it, because I'm human. So those are the complementarities. So that's the storytelling, of course, comes from a human perspective, but you have to prompt it. You have to add some bits in there and enable it to do work. Now, most of you who've watched the first video that was on the link for you guys to read, that video is so instrumental in showing you how to use ChatGPT to actually craft your brand. It is a step-by-step video. And if you watch it, you'll be able to know exactly what to ask it, exactly the prompts you can ask, the brainstorming sessions that you can get. You can use it to give you even cultural context. I could say, I want to craft the Ideation Corner content for China, for the country China, or for India. And then it will incorporate some of the cultural context in there for India or China, and then the content will be then customized. However, if I need to add in more storytelling, I need to actually look at what it has generated and then add some human story aspect on it. So it can't replace human beings, but it enhances our creativity in generally what we do. But I really do encourage you to go through all the material that we gave, because and Aurora in her presentation has actually extracted the most critical points in the reading material that we shared. So, but also read or view the videos, especially I think the first two videos, which give you literally a step-by-step process on how to use ChatGPT to craft your brand. Back to you, Sandra.
Thank you, Damali. That is very useful.
Sandra, sorry.
About...
Before you do, I also wanted to add, this may be a little bit off point, but you guys need to know that Aurora is currently implementing the Stanford Entrepreneurship Program in Uganda, and she's looking for mentors. Aurora, you may tell us about if you're still looking for mentors, but some of these ladies could be mentors.
We're actually not looking for mentors anymore, so we've just closed it, and we're actually in the mentor intervention right now. But I'm also like launching a VC fund in Uganda pretty soon. So I would appreciate if people have any connections to LPs, like limited partner who might be interested in investing in my fund, or angel investors who might be willing to contribute. So I'm mostly looking for LPs who are locals, high net worth individuals, and who really understand, who have that local or regional insights into either Uganda or Kenya or beyond. So yeah, if you know any connections in these areas, I would appreciate it. But we're not looking for mentors anymore.
Oh, great. I'm glad that you're done with that target. Back to you, Sandra.
Okay, thank you. We've got only 5 minutes left, so I'm just going to try and have 3 more questions that we will pass to Aurora and Damali. So one of them comes from yes, Nanteza. Nanteza says, how do we trigger ChatGPT to involve a human connection to the storytelling in brand creation? How do we trigger ChatGPT to involve a human connection to the storytelling in brand creation? That's the first question. Then Ryan says, how can AI assist in maintaining a brand's identity while adapting to different cultural markets? And the last question before I hand over is from Prosi. She says, so about the storytelling, can it be like a success story? Okay, so those are the 3 before we continue. So over to Aurora and Damali.
I guess I can talk about the first question. So in terms of triggering the human connection, I think there's 2 ways. Like one way, for example, if you already have your personal story, let's say you're Rihanna, you're building Fenty Beauty, like you tell ChatGPT your story. And I've noticed that like ChatGPT 4.0, like the updated version, they have memory updates. So whatever thing you tell ChatGPT about yourself, they're gonna remember it for you. So like next time, if you ask them anything about yourself, let's say like if you just ask them a question and be like, help me craft the story and help me link my experience with the brand I want to build, and here's my brand mission, blah blah blah. And you don't need to like repeat your story. You can just like based on what you've told ChatGPT, it can naturally generate a story for you that feeds into the brand's interests. So that's one thing, like making sure you build a personal relationship with ChatGPT, making sure that you constantly like tell ChatGPT about yourself so that your ChatGPT becomes your own personal agent and that it really knows you, or like it knows you even better than yourself, and it can help you craft stories when needed. And the other aspect that you can approach this question, as I talked about before, you can you can ask ChatGPT to come up with an imaginary user profile and just be like helping come up with a X-year-old man or woman, like name, blah blah, and come up with like all of their, occupation, socioeconomic status, country, nationality, whatever, like all the relevant information that you need for your startup, so that when you do marketing, like this person is going to be the story you tell to other people. This person is going to be like the customer, the imaginary customer. And so in that, like the customer is no longer related to your story, but they need to be able to relate to that imaginary profile story. Yeah.
And maybe what I could add, and Josephine did share it quite clearly, where she talked about through the videos that she did watch. You can give various prompts to ChatGPT, which Aurora has also mentioned that at some point, you're going to be able to feed ChatGPT enough of your information that it will be able to craft your story for you, but you have to feed it some of that information because it's not human. And yes, someone can tell the difference between something that's after some time you can tell the difference between say content that has been written by ChatGPT and content that has been written by a human. So what you need to do is ChatGPT is really here to enhance the human experience, enhance you, and give you ideas, but you can add to it and change or add to make it more human or more feeling, so that it's you. So in a way, you have to work hand in hand with what ChatGPT gives you. Also, in addition to this, and Aurora did mention this, is that you have to read through what it gives you so that you give it the human touch. So you can't just copy and paste. And then for sometimes it may not have context. Because if you look at one of the videos, in fact, I showed you is that ChatGPT now, all the content it has ends in 2021. So it doesn't have context between, for this year or last year. So if you want to talk about, let me see something that is typically Ugandan that happened in Uganda, it may not be able to give you ideas or suggestions on, say, Mama D, who was trying to break the Guinness World Records for food here in Uganda. It may not actually be able to give you suggestions because it doesn't know. So you have to work hand in hand with ChatGPT and enable it to enhance you, and then make sure that you're able to create better. But then also you're supposed to use it maybe for brainstorming, where things that have already been thought about before by other people, it can give you ideas. And then you add those ideas. So it will not replace the human creativity, but it will be able to tell you things that human beings have created in the past, so that you don't start from scratch every single time, but you can start from a different level and then go up. I've seen some questions around, can you use ChatGPT to to do your schoolwork? Now, at the time when I did my MBA, they had plagiarism software, where they put your assignment into plagiarism software, and then it will tell how much of it you've just copied and pasted. So I don't know how far the education system has caught up with that here in Uganda. I know internationally it has caught up that if you use ChatGPT to do your assignment, they can just put it through software and then tell that you have. In Uganda, I don't know how far that has gone, but I would encourage you not to necessarily use ChatGPT for plagiarism. You can ask it for ideas for your assignments, but then also still you use your human creativity to add value to it and improve the quality of what you have. So AI is really supposed to enhance what we do. I think Josephine, or someone in the comments who said that we need to emphasize the fact that AI hasn't come here to replace human beings. It can't. It's here to enhance the human experience. And I hope that with all the content that we've been sharing, if you've been reading that message is quite clear in that. So Sandra, I think we're running out of time. So back to you.
Thank you. Yes, you've touched on the two questions that were posted. I think just the last one was, can my clients know that I'm using GPT? That's the last question we'll be taking in.
Yes, they can, if you do not customize it, add some human elements to it. But then sometimes if it knows you well enough, it will actually, so if you use it over time, it also learns. You see, it's learning. Over time, if you've prompted it enough, and then also you make sure there's a video we showed you where you ask it a question, and if it doesn't answer it to the level that you want, you can just prompt it again and say, can you add this information into this content you've given to me? Can you add this context into the content? And it remembers all of that. So over time, if you keep using it, it will actually start coming up with your context, where someone may not find it easy to know that it's actually ChatGPT. But also there's no shame. I feel no shame to say that I've used ChatGPT, because it depends on how well I use it for it to come up with the stuff that I ask it to come up with. So if you use it really well and it's helping you, again, it's supposed to help you ease your work. And if I put enough prompts in ChatGPT about myself and the ideation corner, and tomorrow it's able to give me stuff that I'm able to quickly post, but it's contextual, it has my context, it has my values, it has, the things I need it to have. And someone may know that I use ChatGPT. Yeah, I use it. I'm really good at using it. That's why, I'm able. It's like when computers just came out, and then someone would say, yeah, but will someone know I used Excel to come up with this total, or that I used a calculator? It doesn't matter. The fact is that you came up with the right answer. So whichever tool you use. So I think at some point we'll get to a point where is how well did you use ChatGPT as a tool? There's nothing to feel ashamed about. But still, my content, if I put in the correct prompts and I use it well enough, my content will still be better content than someone who hasn't used it or hasn't used it in the right way. Sandra, that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Damali. We have come to the end of this session. Thank you very much for your questions. I think they've really been addressed. And as we conclude today's session on crafting your brand with ChatGPT, I really want to extend our heartfelt thanks to Aurora for the wonderful presentation and for responding to the questions, and also to Damali and to each of you ladies for your active participation and enthusiasm. I hope you leave today feeling very empowered with these new insights and tools to take your business to new heights. And remember, and I think this is something Aurora said, that your brand is unique. So your unique brand voice and vision are what set you apart from the others. And with the help of tools like ChatGPT, you have the power to amplify that voice like never before. So thank you very much. Thank you, Aurora. Thank you, Damali. Thank you, ladies. And we will meet next week again on Tuesday at 2. Bye.
Bye.